Allegiance to the flag. Okay. Roll call.
Jennifer Rusk here.
Awesome here. Johnson here.
That shoots town staff present.
Bill said he probably wouldn't make it, right?
Correct. And Miss Mary Rose asked to be excused.
Right.
They're missing Renee and Rose.
I'm guessing she might be a little late. Better not to call. All right. Okay. One thing I meant to ask you, Chad, do we have last minutes?
I believe I sent them as soon as I got them out. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I usually try and send them as soon as I get them. Therefore, that way I don't forget.
Right, okay, good. So the agenda? Any questions on the agenda? Anything missing? Anything need to be added?
I don't think y'all can approve it because you don't have a quorum.
Okay.
We can.
Let's pretend we do. Anybody opposed to the agenda? Make a motion to pass the agenda?
Aye.
Aye, aye. Okay, good, we're in.
Three Musketeers.
Okay, previous meetings minutes. And any issues there, Jennifer? Back? Okay, so if we can't approve them, we will. All right, next time, I suppose.
Okay.
All right. Public comment. Agenda. How do we? I see we have some guests here from Cade.
Whenever you're ready. We can wait till after the meeting. It's right there. Yes, sir.
Well, thank you. Your time, my name is John Heim. You're a beach resident. The Southwest Florida Clean Water Movement. An advocate's home base here in Fort Myers Beach for over 5 years now. And whether what you've heard about us or not, that's not what I'm here for. What I'm here for is to talk about a pressing issue that I've been pressing the town council for quite some time now, okay? And that would be agreement the town had passed into law to have back bay testing, okay? In the year 2017, it was approved to do back bay testing through natural resource director or storm water technician. She got shifted to Ray Burns. Excuse me. While the deliberations went through different administrations, so to speak, of town councils, it kept getting we're creating trouble type atmosphere. And through speaking to ex-mayors who I am friendly with and getting denied by ex-mayors who I'm not friendly with, I have been referred to MRF to hear our considerations of a very grave situation when it comes to the town of Fort Myers Beach. The town agreed in 2017 to do back bay testing. The town agreed to do 13 different sample sites throughout the island. The town also made this a budget line item, which in turn means the taxpayers were partially responsible for this testing. The Lee County Environmental Lab agreed to pay for these tests for free as a donation to raise good work at the time. Various locations around the island, including Bayview Drive, to Norris Street, and Lazy Way, just to name a few. Now, 16 of these sites were designated through a law the town made. Testing was done for the likes of pneumonia, nitrate, horrible things like organic nitrate, orthophosphorus, total nitrate, and other forms of phosphorus, not to mention red tide and flesh-eating disease. These tests were not only agreed upon to be done by the town of Fort Myers Beach, but also to lend public information, whether it was through newspapers, whether it was their own website, whether it was, any means possible when it comes to technology today, to let not only our residents, but our visitors alike to know when our waters are potentially dangerous, if not life-taking. The problem was, town never did these tests, or better yet, may have done these tests, have never relinquished the information. Every time I go to a town clerk, or I go to a mayor, or I go to a council, they tell me that they don't know what happened to these records. Now, are we still being taxed as taxpayers for something that was never done? Are we still testing the water presently? Did we ever test the water presently? These are major concerns of the Southwest Florida Clean Water Movement when a town agrees under law to do something when it's a budget line item where taxpayers are paying for it, and just acts like they don't have to do it or answer to people like us for literally 7 years to get this constructed, 4 years with no results since the agreement. Go a little further, Ray Burns went on to say, should Fort Myers receive a red tide positive reading, in other words, an elevated red tide, he told the council this, should it receive a red tide reading that was above normal, the best case scenario would be closing these beaches through our own town testing source that was made into law. Nobody knows where the tests are. Nobody's closing beaches. And the reality is this. The town's in big trouble because they broke their own law. Don't come here as a rabble-rouser. Don't come here as an activist. I'm here to work with y'all to get the message as a vehicle to this town council that we as regular citizens can seem not to get through to them. They have to be accountable to law just the way we have to be as citizens. And 10 straight years on trying to stand up for clean water and the safety of the people, okay? We got it finally through the administration of Tracy Gore, who actually, when she was mayor, to actually get it into law. Tracy obviously is no longer here. What happened to this? Where did it go? Why were there no results turned in? Was the testing done? And Ray Burns was still the environmental technician or stormwater water technician. He had approached her and had a meeting with her. And she literally closed the door and in fear of her job said, that pile of paper, these are your results. I don't know how to decipher them. I want to send them away to the laboratory at Lee County that I'm going to do it for free. In a way, they never came back. They asked Ray Blake what's going on. Suddenly Ray Blake, fresh out of college, brand new career, retires. I'm not speculating, but what I do know, being in this town for a really long time and water quality being the number one hot issue, it's being buried. Granted, nowadays it's real popular to talk about it. At that time, I had a bad feeling Ray tried to do the right thing, was pressured by the administrations at the time to do away with these results. I want y'all, I plead with y'all. I don't have demands anymore because it doesn't work. I'm pleading with you. The town and the safety of the people of this town and the people that come to it, my child, your child, all of our children, safety of the water. What happened to those tests? We deserve those answers. Thank you very much.
And
Rose is here.
good. Look into that. Thanks, Rose. Thanks. Okay, any other Here's public comment, closes.
What he was just,
Sure.
Dr. Parsons at the Mound House. Time in the next month, I don't know the exact date, addressing all the water sampling done for the last grant.
A different project, actually. Yeah, that's a
Right,
different
but
project.
It does do water testing.
Or it's non,
So
yeah,
I don't
non-source
know if
point
that's-
pollution testing, yeah. So I'd like to hear those results as well, but I am familiar with that situation. I wasn't necessarily following it. I know Ray was having testing done, so we'll definitely look into that. There's been agenda items in the offing here to look into the Back Bay further testing, and we will look into it. Thanks. All right. Go to current items. So do we have public speakers today?
Yes, sir. Miss Holly from Keller Williams.
Please just add me there. Hi, hello. Good.
And
Okay.
the Fade Straw, which is first on the agenda.
All right, well, let's start with the folks from Fade. Is that the two of you?
Holly, I know you're under a time constraint. Do you want to go first so you can make your meeting?
Sure. Do that then. Oh, geez, Alva. Okay, good. Hey, Bill.
So I passed out just a really simple bullet point, kind of a, I'm Holly, thank you for having
Here it
me
is.
here.
Yep.
And I'm representing Keller Williams, but I'm also representing the Beach Bucket Foundation, which is an organization out of West Palm Beach that has been installing beach bucket stations for beach cleanup for the Clean Water Initiative on the other coast, and it's taken hold pretty strongly, and so then Keller Williams, every year, we like to get behind an organization that represents our values and our beliefs, and we can impact the community here locally. We usually have a one-day volunteer event on May 3rd, or it's the second Thursday of every May. So this year it's May 13th, and our desire had been to do a beach cleanup, but I know that we have staff that clean the beach, and I know that there are a lot of beach cleanup events that happen down here, and it's an ongoing need, but I really would like to do something that would have, like, Keller Williams as a whole would really like to do something that has a longer term impact, which means getting local businesses and citizens involved through partnership with the Beach Bucket Foundation. There are photos on the document that I passed out just kind of showing you samples. These are customizable. Keller Williams is offering to sponsor the first 3 if you guys were interested in just kind of doing a trial run of them. But then the rest of the stations themselves can be funded entirely through sponsorships of the buckets. It should not be a cost burden to the beach outside of the trash pickup, which you currently already do. These stations do not necessarily have to have trash cans attached to them. Depending on whatever the municipality's needs are, they can customize that. So that's really what I'm here to do, is just to present that proposal that, in partnership with the Beach Bucket Foundation, we would like to bring some of these stations here and maybe even kind of do a launch with it on May 13th with a few of them at different access points that you guys think would be most beneficial, at least to start with testing it out. And we were going to do we were going to make it a public beach cleanup event, maybe try to bring in some PR, and then have, like a celebration event that day with the agents in our office, as well as with the town council and the Beach Bucket Foundation, just to kind of celebrate, do the beach cleanup. That's really what I'm presenting. So I can call Andy if you guys have specific questions. He's the founder of the Beach Bucket Foundation. I can call him, and he is happy to talk with you further about, questions about specs. I know there were some questions about hurricane preparedness, do with the stations. I can answer them to the best of my ability, and he's available on call if we need to.
Okay. Thank you. It is on the agenda. And you said these are actually customizables, I can see here. Typically, the
Yeah.
ones I found online just showed the 4.
Those are just examples of what they can look like, but really, at this point, for the May 13th deadline, we'd probably have to just do the pressure-treated wood, and also with you know, this has been a process, and I think I was a little probably overly eager, thinking 3 months was enough time to get this done. But even not, we'd still love to support it, regardless of whether or not we can get the May 13th deadline.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So what locations will you be setting up, and will you be setting up the actual makeshift where you hang the buckets on it?
So I think what you're looking at, that looks like take fill a bag, which they use buckets as well, and they kind of hang them on the hooks. That's not the one that I actually passed out, but that might be in the agenda because I think you guys are going to discuss.
It's on the top, yeah.
Yeah.
I have it,
So I
yeah.
passed out, I don't know if Chad gave you a
Yeah,
different.
it's the
Just
on
a,
the
yeah, it's just the
card side.
heavier paper. It's a two-sided.
quality
Oh,
stuff.
there we go.
There you go.
That's what would be on beach access
Yeah.
for May 13th that you would be bringing
Well,
on May 13th?
May 13th was our beach cleanup day. So with or without these stations, we'll come to a beach cleanup, but I would like the idea of being able to do something that would continue on beyond just one day of cleaning the beach. Something that will,
On every beach access or just certain?
that would be the goal ultimately, is if you guys like it, you would be, I know that you guys have how many beach, like 30 something? So,
Probably, yeah.
so I
roughly.
mean, eventually you can grow into that. We can either work to find sponsorships to, to sponsor these stations, or, I mean, I don't know if you guys have the budget, but we can commit on the short term that we could probably raise the funds to sponsor at least 3 of them, so you guys can determine which access points you want to.
Just a point of reference, the town council is not in favor of additional advertising.
Yeah,
beach
and I do know
accesses.
that. I'm aware that you guys don't allow, local business advertising, which is something that they do on the buckets. But you don't have to. We can find other ways of sponsorship and or, appreciation for business sponsors. But that would be if it was something that you guys did decide to provide an opportunity for the local businesses to support the Clean Water Initiative to, then it's kind of not having to put it on, park benches or anything.
Right.
Whatever you guys decide to do with that, we can work around it.
And I think I've communicated with email that the town council was, and I think everybody thinks it's a great idea. It's just the implementation may not be the best for us. So we look at all the different options
Absolutely.
and then make a decision. But I think we like the idea. And where it goes is something that MRF can recommend to be the driver. It's up to the town and the committee if we're going to do something, where we're going to do it, as opposed to the vendors.
I did a little research, and I actually have a few pictures I'd like to share with the committee. If that's all right with you.
What I might propose is that when we, for
Maybe
litter
moving
stations.
forward some ideas that the town can utilize either for every beach access or in different areas. I just have a couple pictures to.
Okay, that's similar to what this extra document was for. So maybe in the sake of time, I know Holly's probably won't be sitting through this whole,
No problem.
they're up there, go ahead.
Oh, great. So this one, my idea was let me get out my paperwork. My idea was if it ultimately becomes a town cost, that I thought these would be maybe a good thing to use, to have a box at maybe not in every access, but perhaps maybe in heavier areas, maybe by the pier and in park, maybe footage. Would have a box that would hold like maybe 3 sets of these. So they come in a set of, one is recycle, one is trash. You'd have a box located maybe on down below where the pet waste. You could then have a lockbox on there with a code that if someone's interested in coming up to and wanting to do a beach cleanup, it could then, so those could be in a box right underneath there, so we're not adding more posts on our. Then with a code, there's what's called like a short code that you would text. You would automatically get a response from them, and with the actual code. One idea. Second thing I was thinking is we could do biodegradable bags. And there are dispensers similar to what's above there, the dog waste, and have those at beach access or at every other beach access. But I can't, I think her idea was fantastic, but what I don't support is adding more plastic, regular plastic, to our beach accesses. I think the idea is great, but if we're gonna do this, I'd like to see more big boxes or big things on our beach accesses. I think we have enough with garbage cans and signs. So if we could do something that can attach to something that's already there, use biodegradable bags, or you can buy them for 13. Maybe that we can find either course of, that's, that was.
Okay.
Go to the next picture. It's just basically showing other areas below, maybe the, lines. To the next picture, Jason. There's also the garbage cans that maybe attach something.
Okay, so I thought an approach to this was a couple things. I mean, just for your benefit, or at least for the board's benefit here, Holly's looking for really this solution for the red day that they're running for Keller Williams. And what we're going to do today is to go through at the bequest of the town council as to will that fit on our beach, and investigate other options besides Beach Bucket Foundation based on what the requirements are that this group brings up, such as reduction of plastic and raised platforms for turtle protection and stuff like that. So we will go through that. I don't know, are the gentlemen from Fade, are you guys time limited as well? I'm not sure you'd want to sit through that question. I would just assume maybe move forward there. And Holly, since you're limited time, can we get back to you then after the meeting and just let you know?
I did want to say, though, we are, like, Keller Williams, we live here. So
Right.
the idea is that, and we, obviously we service Myers Beach and Myers. So the idea for us is to just do something with a lasting impact. I know the guy from Beach Bucket Foundation. I think it's a great organization, but if there's something that works better for Fort Myers Beach and we can support that, we'd be happy to.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
it was
just,
more of a turnkey
this was
solution.
just, I just thought it was a really cool idea,
is a
and I knew
great
it was
one, yeah.
customizable, and it does come in wood, not plastic, but again, if there's a way that he could, like those posts, if the post was attached to it, or, we could see what we could do with him, because he can do whatever, but these ideas, whatever, just let me know how we can support you guys and what you're doing.
Okay, perfect.
Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
You've already been effective by bringing it forward.
Yes.
You already started a ball rolling, and something we get done just from your efforts so far. So we thank you for that.
Okay, thanks, Holly. All right, so we will move this then to back to the second spot here and let the HA gentleman here come and tell us about this fantastic new biopolymer. Maybe not new, but
Do you make any buckets or little trash bins?
We could actually probably be able to help you out there.
actually, you guys, I was looking on your website, and you don't make the dog waste bags yet.
We don't. We're not in the film business
Oh,
currently.
okay.
We're more in the food service business. So
Yeah.
I'm Brad Laporte. I'm the CEO of WinCup. WinCup is
Yep.
a national food service distributor. We have 8 manufacturing sites, employ 935 folks across the country. So what we really have done over the last few years, really changed our traditional food service direction to new biodegradable, sustainable products. The first was Vio, which is a biodegradable foam product that we started back in 2014. The Fade is now our next evolution in that true biodegradable quest for biodegradable products. What's really cool about Fade, and what is really relevant to Fort Myers Beach and many coastal cities, is this is the first true marine grade biodegradable product in a straw. And I want to take you through kind of where the science behind that, answer any questions that you may have, and explain more of why we're doing it. You have a handout in front of you. It's a pretty lengthy handout, but I wanted to give you enough information to take home and read, and I'll give you kind of the clip. But PHAs have been around forever, right? PHAs are actually fatty acids that exist inside of bacteria. We take canola oil, or our partners, Nmr Scientific, takes canola oil, feeds it to the bacteria, which, just like Thanksgiving, they store the energy. I store too much at Thanksgiving. They store the energy. We harvest that energy, that fatty acid, out of it and make it into a polymer, which we, at this point, extrude into straws. We're developing other products, but at this point, this is our first. The cool thing about PHA, polyhydroxyalkanoates, is the same bacteria that fatty acid it's made of also attracts bacteria to eat it. So in a marine environment, there's plenty of bacteria, good bacteria. There's bad bacteria that someone before was possibly talking about, but there is good bacteria as well, and that bacteria will consume over a period of time, depending on how much bacteria it is. If you'll flip to, that kind of sums up page 1. If you'll flip to page 4, what's interesting about this chart is cellulose is a known biodegradable, right? Paper, those type of base materials, wood. And this is actually the plot of how FADE or PHA performs against cellulose. You can actually see over a period of time, PHA will actually outperform cellulose. Actually, it gets to a relative biodegradation point at 112 days above cellulose. And PHA is actually, through ASTM standards, OWS testing, TUV, and BPI have all certified FADE as PHA as being marine biodegradable, home compostable, industrial compostable, still biodegradable. We have multi other tests, and I'll go through some of those as well. I wanted to kind of show you the picture of how much time does it take to go away? Does it look like compared to other materials that are in the environment? Page 4. If you can look at page 5, page 5, this is the disintegration. Biodegradation is measured by CO2 consumption or emission, right? So O2 consumption, CO2 emission. As the bacteria is eating the PHA, it's emitting CO2. The other part of a biodegradation is right? So does it actually go away? And these are actually pictures of these are our fade blue straws in a marine environment over worth 1,000 words. So that gives us the certifications. We're not in the business, we're in business of selling food service products, right? So, but I'm in the business of making sure that I'm protecting the company to be able to validate all of these concerns, all of these products, so then in 5 years, 10 years down the road, somebody doesn't come out and say, well, this creates microplastics. This creates some other harmful environmental issue that exposes our company to other issues down the road. So our job was to kind of cross all the T's, dot all the I's. So we went into, you do marine testing, it's all in water, right? So marine water, and you're measuring gases and you're measuring disintegration. After the test was complete, I quarantined all the marine water, had our testing laboratories quarantine all the marine water, and I wanted to know what was left. At the end of that, we took the water, we took all the water out of it, right? So you boil it down, you're left with a solid. And you look inside that solid and find out what you see. So you can see on page, our first test was a Raman spectra test, where you take that solid and you take a bunch of pictures, and you see that. On page 7, you can see the results of that test. These are 5 distinct samples, pictures within the solid, and then the top pink line is actually PHA. The common shift actually is in the 1700. You can see that spike in the 1700 range. You can see in the rest of the samples that spike does not exist. There's no PHA left in the water as we're looking through the Raman spectra. The results.
You're saying the PHA, I see, the PHA is at the 1700.
That's correct. You see
level,
that spike at
Sure.
1700? So great results, not enough for me. We went one step further and went to NMR testing. And NMR testing is you take that solid now and you dissolve it back into chloroform, sorry, chlorophyll would be a little bit different, chloroform. And what's important with chloroform is things like marine salts, organic materials, those type of things will not dissolve. Esters, like plastic or PET, will dissolve, and you can identify those within the NMR testing. And you can actually see on page 8, again, all that's left is residual water. Absolutely zero PHA or esters left in the actual water after our biodegradation process has taken. So that gives us the confidence to come to places like Fort Myers Beach and really talk about how bans don't necessarily help, better technology can. I know you guys are a big tourist area. I know that, and I'll talk about other materials here in a second, paper straws may not have been the answer, may not be the long-term answer for you guys because not all paper straws were created. I'll explain a little bit more. Toxicity. So in order to measure, so great, now we have this bacteria that's eaten this material, now what do we do with it, right? Is it bad for our environment? We actually did ecotoxicity, fluorine, heavy metals, etc., and we take what's left after the bacteria has done its job, and then we plant stuff in it. In this case, in a marine environment, it's algae, barley, and those type of things in a home composting type of material. And in all instances, zero ecotoxicity issues or fade in both a marine environment as well as in a home composting as well as an industrial composting setting. And you can see all the technical information there of what the tests, the ASTM tests, et cetera, have concluded. Germination of cress and barley. Cress was the other material that was. HA versus natural materials. This is on page 10. And what I really want to talk about here is not all things that may appear to be biodegradable or good for the environment are actually biodegradable and good for the environment. Think about sugar and sugar cane. There are sugar lids and those type of products from a food service perspective that actually don't biodegrade in a marine environment. Paper straws are made by 2 to 3 or 4 layers of paper, small thin pieces of layer. They're actually joined together in a wrapping motion with what's called PVA glue, polyvinyl acetate glue. Right? And that glue is put together as a paper. Yes, the paper biodegrades. Not all polyvinyl acetate glue. Some polyvinyl acetate glue. Some of those are actually proven to be carcinogenic. Whether you find your straws from China or wherever they're imported from, not necessarily have all the same laws and rules that we have here in the United States. And not all paper straws are created equal. So there are other alternatives, bamboo. Economically, bamboo is 10 times more expensive than a regular typical straw. Paper is actually 5 times more expensive. Meat is actually cheaper. So we have a better performing product. It doesn't get soggy, obviously from a commercial and user experience. Fade, ticks all the boxes. Goes away the environment. Good actual feel for the consumer. I don't know how you guys feel about paper straws. Get soggy and coladas on the beach and those type of things don't necessarily last all that long. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk more about. Is it harmful in page 11? Is it still harmful until it biodegrades? So the way that we've designed fade, we've actually designed fade with a specific gravity greater than 1, which means it goes to the bottom of the ocean. It doesn't sit up at the top. Bamboo will actually float. Paper will actually float for a period of time, etc. Fade will not. Fade will actually go to the bottom of the ocean or the pond or the lake or the waterway, and then actually start to be covered up with sediment. And that sediment is actually where the majority of the algae or the bacteria actually live. It starts to get covered up immediately. And then it starts to biodegrade. Integration starts to happen as the weakening walls start to happen. If you look back on page, to make you go backwards here, on page 5, you can see within a couple of months, it's very brittle, and starts to, if there's any external contact to it, will actually start to break up. We do not condone marine litter. We don't condone side of the highway litter. We don't condone litter at all. The real life deal is that only 10% of plastics get actually disposed of properly. Right? They end up in some will end up in a landfill, hopefully, but ends up in a industrial composting pile. The straws in many places in the United States say compostable. The reality, those are industrial compostable.
Sure, yeah.
actual challenge of getting a straw from somebody's house or an establishment to an industrial composting facility, won in the lottery, right? It's just very, very good argument, but we're a long way away from having that infrastructure alone. So next question is, does fade result in microplastics? Microplastics is a big thing. Everybody hears about microplastics, right? Microplastics in the water, I found microplastics in the fish. Microplastics are what's called oxy-biodegradation, where the chains of the carbons actually break apart. And that is caused usually by sunlight or a chemical that is put into the plastic, petroleum-based, create microplastics. Fade is not that. Fade actually biodegrades, right? The CO2 production that is made from biodegradation is measured and accounted for in all of our testing. It does not turn into microplastics. Further demonstrated by the NMR test as well as the Raman Spectre test, there is no microplastics left in the water. Now, I want to be cognizant of time and give you enough time to answer or ask questions. But the rest of the deck is about home compostability. You can see on page 16, in 9 weeks, completely gone. Home composting pile. Home composting is our second layer of proof. The most difficult testing to accomplish or to pass is marine biodegradation. Home composting is the second. We actually, by standard, that has to happen within 6 months to a year. Do it in 9 weeks. So, again, this is, if it doesn't end up in the ocean and ends up on the side of the, in any bacteria-rich environment, this is actually how we recommend that you dispose of fade. We recommend that you do it in a home composting situation. Yard home composter, your food pile, however you want to do it. That's
anaerobically,
anaerobically, right? Yeah. Aerobically. But we do also do aerobically, but we also do have testing in an anaerobic environment, i.e. An open land or a closed landfill, et cetera. The ASTM D5511 standards, we also pass those standards. We don't promote that. We want you to put it in where it goes. We want you to dispose it properly. But if it ends up in one of these other environments. So I want to thank you for your time. Is there any questions that I may be able to answer?
Concern I have is your page graph of that.
Actually, I apologize.
three,
I
I
missed the
think.
page number there. It's page 4.
Page 4. I hate paper straws. They integrate in your glass before you even finish your drink. But your 85% degradation is not until 84 days, whereas the paper straw is 10 days.
Correct.
So that would make a concern of possible ingestion by turtles, birds, whatever, thinking it's a worm and choking risk.
It's a fair concern, right? So by no means are we saying that this is the absolute perfect solution for the world. We set out to get rid of single-use plastics that end up being in that environment for 450 years and have worked it down to a 98-day period. Big change there. We designed it to not sit on the ocean surface or to be suspended in the ocean and actually go to the ocean floor. So it's not, being picked up by a fish as he's trying to swim, et cetera. I haven't really thought about the bird ingestion. I haven't done any testing on that. We have thought about trying to figure out how to test if it is ingested. We have not figured that quite at this point. It is a natural material, right? It is a polyhydroxyalkanoate, so it is a fatty acid from bacteria. So inherently, the thought is that it could be ingested or passed through the intestines of a creature or human. I haven't done that personal testing yet. I have actually thought about it a few times, but we have not. So I understand your concern. I would also revert back to the paper straw that it's being compared to. It's not purely paper, right? So if it is picked up and ingested, whether it's the polyvinyl acetate glues or coatings, you see there's a lot of companies are coming out with a non-soggy paper straw. right? Which is actually either polyethylene, polylactic acid, or polypropylene coated paper or wax. And none of those are really good for the environment. It's doing the same thing as throwing a regular plastic straw into the environment. I understand your concern, and understand that we're not perfect yet, but I think this is a much better solution. The other side of it is, you guys have a wide variety of demographics in the area. You have a lot of snowbirds that come into the area, a lot of elderly folks, as well as a lot of tourists. Hospitals, you think about a glass of water sitting on a hospital bed with a paper straw in it, it's usable within a period of time. If you've ever been in the hospital, you can think about drinking out of that flex straw in a cup. Can you imagine if that's paper and is it functional? As well as the Americans with Disabilities. Again, there are people that rely on straws for tools to be able to liquids on a regular basis. Paper may not be the answer for that because it's more like a plastic straw does, or in this case, like
Hospitals, our hospital uses plastic straws.
don't, right? And this would be a perfect solution for them, right? So
So they're not having soggy straws, but they're out
of plastic, right? And those are gonna end up in a landfill or ultimately when it rains down the storm sewers and out into the waterways, and they're gonna float and they're gonna get picked up somewhere along the way. We are not in this area because there's ordinances around us not being able to, the ordinance here is to use paper, right? So we're not able.
Actually, it's a straw ban, I believe.
Straw ban.
A complete ban, yeah.
There is straws being sold in the area.
Correct, on the beach?
It's only
Harvey?
plastic.
Plastic straws.
Oh, you sure it's plastic?
It is.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I
Did some
thought that.
testing around when I arrived, and
Even better than
it's
I
all
do,
paper
Brad.
straws.
Okay.
Really, that's interesting. A lot that goes back to the compostable claim. People are claiming their product to be compostable because they want to sell more straws, but in reality,
Right.
they're not solving the problem because that PLA is the additional straw that would be compostable.
PLA, right,
It's
yeah.
not ending up in an industrial composting facility, and it does not go away in a marine environment. Polyhydroxyalkanoates, PHAs, are the only material at this point that have proven to pass the ASTM standards for marine biodegradation.
Correct, yeah, right. Even home composting, right? I mean, the polylactic acid won't
It's
do that
not going
either,
away in all
right?
this.
That's a fantastic product. I gotta tell you, the more I looked into it, the more I was impressed with it. But, as Doc Fossum here said, I think at our point right now, and I'm sure we'll discuss it, but is that just that mechanical degradation is what probably is the biggest holdback for us, because it's for the image we use for straws on the beach is a turtle with this,
Great.
plastic straw sticking up through its nose, and that's sort of the banner that's used, and so to me that's the only technically weakness, but the fact that it completely is biodegradable. I mean, it's true biodegradable, like you said, not oxy. Biodegradable is fantastic. I mean, absolutely fantastic.
We produced 250 and sold 250 million straws already across the United States. Distribution centers around the world, around the United States. We have several
Means Dunkin'
areas.
Donuts too, right? Didn't they adopt it?
We're in Dunkin' Donuts and 500 Dunkin' Donuts stores. We actually have several city carve-outs, not carve-outs, exceptions that have banned plastic straws that now allow fade in their. Obviously, from a takeout and safety perspective, with COVID and everything going on, there's a whole lot more takeout across the United States.
Yep.
So what we're asking for the committee to do is to back this type of product within the Fort Myers Beach legislative arena as we're trying to modify the ordinance to be able to sell and distribute product into this. Obviously, it's the task force that's responsible for that.
Well, we recommend things. It's the town council that actually decides, but.
Yeah, sure, absolutely,
Sure.
absolutely.
So the straw ban
Your recommendation
is on
goes a long way.
plastics only?
Good.
Plastic straws, yes, sir. Is PHA considered a quote-unquote plastic?
Yeah, so the definition of plastic, right? So yes, it is, because a definition of plastic is any polymer that can be softened and molded into something else. It's a true definition of plastic. Unfortunately, this is plastic, but it's not really a plastic. So years ago, or whenever many of these laws were written, PHA didn't exist. It was a commercial product. It could not be made. Scientists were playing with it, but it just hadn't developed into something that could be function. So, not all plastics are created equal, but by definition, it would exclude a product from. Many other towns have use different language. There's two different types of language out there in legislation. One is nothing except natural, which would be paper or bamboo, and the other is nothing that's natural, paper, or something that will decompose or disintegrate or biodegrade in the environment.
Non-petroleum based.
This area has decided to use anything that's not natural except for paper and plastics.
Any other questions?
Have examples of your straw?
Oh man, I knew you'd ask that. So, I apologize. I flew back from Chicago last night and hadn't been to the office to be able to pick up some additional straws. So, but I will send Chad a bunch of straws to be able to distribute. It looks exactly like and feels exactly like a plastic straw. Actually, a little bit stronger.
Kidding.
He may where he went to go.
Hey,
Good.
I like you to have like.
Yeah, I usually have them in my. So I'll get this. My family and I went to vacation last week, and I had my briefcase with me with a bunch of straws, and they had a bunch of paper as well. So I let my family use all my fade samples because they didn't want to use the paper straws.
Right, I'm sure. Excellent. Jennifer, any other questions or?
Did some digging. Did left
Yes, I can take a minute and give you kind of the base of that. There's actually a Wall Street Journal article that was written on the 21st of March, I believe it was. And I actually did an interview with the Wall Street Journal for that article, and they decided not to use our scientific information. The lady that was writing the article was simply against single plastics. Mm-hmm. There has been rebuttals to that article, and actually press releases released by both Nmr Scientific as well as the University of Georgia that was quoted in that article that the science may not be right, and the University of Georgia has released that that is not the case, that is the science is many white papers and PhD backing this product because it really solves the problem that we're all faced with plastics pollution in the environment. We're developing more products than this. Exciting. For example, paper cups are not real paper cups, right? Plastic lining on that doesn't go away for 50 years. If they were on a paper cup, would.
Mind me asking, what was the scientific question mark that they had? That is it about the compostability of it, or the?
No, one of they interviewed another converter. We gave them all the scientific information. We're the first ever to build a PHA straw in the entire world, in a factory in Jacksonville. They went and interviewed somebody else that was saying that they can make straws. They quoted that the PHA will go away anywhere. Mm-hmm. Which is not truly the case. PHA has to be exposed to bacteria, which exists just about anywhere. But that was the contradiction to the science. It won't go away anywhere because it won't go away in North Pole when there was no bacteria exists.
I see. So it's really just about the presence of bacteria.
All about bacteria.
Okay.
It doesn't have to do with temperature. It doesn't have to do with geographical climate. Obviously, the more populated areas seem to have more bacteria than non-populated area. For example, warmer areas seem to be more populated than colder areas.
Means there's bacteria, right?
Any other questions?
All right, thank you very much, Brad.
Thank you for your time.
Excellent presentation. Okay. let's move on here. And, we'll end up doing then is probably adding that to the next month's agenda, just to discuss it. Okay, wonderful, thank you. All right. Moving on here, Beach Bucket Foundation, again, at least maybe beach litter station review. So Jennifer's already showed us some images she had, some ideas she had, this review here that was put together. I put that together really just to steer the discussion. As you see, it's really a 4-page review. The first page really is what we have existing. I just made a couple of comments there. You're all free to, this is again, just as an idea. Essentially, I think Public Works is satisfied with this system, obviously. It's been refined over the years. There's bin for litter, bin for recycling, and currently we have the dog waste single pull. It's made by Steve's. I looked into it. It's not a biodegradable bag at all. As a matter of fact, I called the company. They couldn't even tell me what the plastic was. It is definitely imported, and it's not biodegradable, is what they said. I mean, it's unbelievable, really. However, it's been there for 15 years, and it's effective. They like the single pull dispensers. You know, the rolls, the perforated rolls seem to allow people to take too many, you know, because they can't find the roll or the perforation, so they pull. So that's a consideration. That's what we have existing. I think you're all very familiar with it. They're mounted different ways. One up in the left-hand corner's got the rope around it, which is very attractive. They're also lifted up off of the ground for the most part. I think to ensure that sea turtles don't get stuck underneath them. That's what we have now. And on the second page here, you've got the beach, the commercially available systems. To the town councils that this is kind of a turnkey system. This guy down on the East Coast, we've got these installed at about 7 locations in Southeast Florida. I didn't realize they would customize it, as she had showed us on the back of her sheet. They can do it in different ways. I think they have litter pickup devices. I'm not sure. I actually don't see any in those, but essentially what I've seen is only a one bin system. So what would we do for recycling? Have a separate bin. Is there a hurricane rating on it? I mean, what would we do? And I don't know what we do now with our litter bins with hurricanes. And also the issue about sponsors funding stations, but as Bill had said, that the town looks down on having any kind of marketing and advertising on the beach itself. There are some other options. If you look around, this fill-a-bag seems to be fairly popular. All it is, looks like a 4x4 with some dowels sticking out where you can hang buckets from. They've got an option with grocery-style bags, so they have looks like a lobster trap there with grocery-style baskets that can stack in there, and you would take one and fill that and empty it. In the right-hand corner, I think this might be a UK solution here. It's called a 2-minute beach cleanup. Difficult to see, but on the left-hand side, there's a long rectangular box attached to the sign that has the pickers, you know, where you squeeze it and it clamps down so you can pick up your garbage. On the right is where you put your used bags, and I'm not sure where you put your garbage, but I imagine this is associated with a trash can. It's kind of a large structure. On the next page, page 3, there were some ideas for signage. So the question, I guess, comes to recommend to the town council. Do we suggest something like the Beach Bucket Foundation? Or do we customize a program that suits our needs better? And that's where these next 2 pages sort of address that. Whereas you can come up with any kind of signage. There's four examples from off the internet. One in the lower left is basically a bag like our dog waste bags, but in this case, they suggest that you use these for litter bags. Go out and pick up litter and bring a bag back and toss it away. On the right-hand side is a good example of what you could do with our existing bags that we have on the beach. Dog waste bags that can be converted to dog and litter pickup. Upper right-hand corner, I threw that up there because here they've actually fashioned a sign out of pelicans and dolphins that maybe is aesthetically a little neater. And then again, on the top left is a very simple pictorial there of how to pick up a bag, fill it, empty it, and put it away. And on the back were just some images of commercially available items for picking litter up, if that's even an issue or actually a consideration, whether or not people don't want to use their hands. I don't know right now; they don't have that option. But also, as far as containers, if we wanted to stay away from plastic, I guess there's galvanized buckets or buckets we can use. I would say the other four options, although they're obviously, there's a plastic bucket, which is pretty effective, but and economical. But they have these soft bags as well. But of course, those are nylon. Those are synthetic. Those are, mostly polymers. And square bags. So that I'll open it up to the group here on what their thoughts are as to. Kind of ideas we can propose to town council, and but also what based on what we have now, I think ideally, the Public Works Group would like us to work with this and put together a system that's easy to maintain, and also is economical. Since there won't be any sponsorship, I'm imagining, for this, with the exception of somebody like Keller Williams, who would contribute in some way to the program, and other people on the beach that would contribute. Anything jumping out at you, gang?
So,
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk so long.
sorry, I apologize. So what I probably should have waited to share my pictures, but what I found was the biodegradable bags. You can get them in 4 and 6 gallons, 6 and 8 gallons, 100 count, 175 count. I don't know where maybe the town would find a distributor to provide biodegradable bags, but just again, that would be what I found, 13 cents a piece. And then, of course, I didn't.
What kind of biodegradable bags are they? I did look into that myself a little bit, and
Sorry?
know what kind of biodegradable bags? Biodegradable, or?
I didn't look into that. I actually just looked into it maybe 15.
Okay, yeah.
But, it's something we need to look into, especially if they're going to claim they're biodegradable. We need to obviously make sure that they are. And then, to have them, would we have a dispenser at every single beach entrance access?
Well, they should serve two purposes. They should also serve as a waste bag, right? We're not going to have two redundant systems, a redundant system, I would think, and that's my opinion.
If we do that, then I feel it could be costly to maintain, to have Public Works out there making sure that they're filled, and of course, refilling with the bags, and then the dispenser, for every entrance, but convenient for for visitors and beachgoers if they forget a bag. And I've been on the beach and had lunch and drinks and find myself forgetting a bag and having to run home. But it would be nice if there was a plastic bag. Now, we're also, if they're just free to take, that could get expensive if we're offering bags, but convenient for people. The picture that I showed with the 2 garbage, 1 a recycle can and 1 garbage can, actually are they're expandable, so they can close right back up. They're reusable. They're not biodegradable because they're reusable, but we could benefit because they're reusable. They also compact down. the maintenance, the low maintenance on that, thank you.
I mean, those are plastic buckets, I'm thinking, right? Or
No,
are
no,
they
they're not
fabric?
buckets. They're almost like, for waste, they pop up. It's almost, I don't know if you've ever seen them, they close
Like a
back up.
collapsible water bag.
Collapsible for waste or lawn.
Water, yeah, we've seen them, yep.
Yep, yep. And so you can get them in two for that, I believe for like $25 for two. My thought process was to have a box, maybe some of the high areas, the high volume areas with a nice sign that says beach cleanup station. And either have
Somebody carry one of each then when they walked out?
Oh, no,
One for
so
trash and one-
basically, when they open the box, there would be, say, 3 sets of those. Because, I mean, at any one given time, what's the point of having the beach cleanup station? Is that, to have big groups come? Because you would think big groups would then bring their own bags,
No, it's
right?
for people, yeah, walking the
This
beach.
is something, if somebody's on the beach and says, wow, what a great idea, a beach cleanup. Hey, we're walking this morning, why don't we go ahead and get one of those beach bags and then walk the beach and pick up garbage and then close it, put it in the garbage can, close it up, put it back in the box.
One's trash and one's recycling, so they would have to carry two.
Well, if there's 2 people, or there's more
My
than one.
point is, if they're walking and there's something recyclable and something non-recyclable, what's the point of having a,
Say if there's 2 people or say, for example, they don't want to pick up recyclables, or they want to just throw everything in the garbage can. I mean, that's up to them, what kind of
Okay.
beach cleanup they want to do. But anyhow, that's an idea. It would be low maintenance. Our public works wouldn't be out there constantly filling bags.
where would we put these?
So we would find a spot,
Hang them?
have a box, have a lock so people don't take them or that they don't walk off on their own on the beach, and have some sort of lock on there. I think maybe like I like the idea of the short code registry. Are you familiar, any of you familiar with the short code registry?
Short cove?
Short code.
Oh,
Yeah, so you text and then you get an automatic response with a code that they would just put in, open it up, and then when they return it, that's that.
would prevent theft.
Prevent theft. I mean, we could also use a lock, but then we would have to, or just leave it open and just on the honor system leave them. So that was my idea. I thought that also I like the short code registry for the town in general, just because it's a great way to give emergency alerts, also give pop-up locations and dates, just something to look into. Yeah, so again, less maintenance for these, cost effective, and we'll need I think the only maintenance would be just to check on the boxes to make sure that they're still there, maybe replace some if they get really bad, maybe rinse them out on occasion, but that would be the easiest. And then, of course, a sign in front of the box saying, this
The program
is.
works.
A description, a program. So it's just an idea that I thought I'd bring up.
I would be more for changing all the doggy bag stations to dog and human. They take a bag and just fill it up with trash, or take a bag and dog waste. The way it's already existing there. Have to relabel it. I don't know what the cost per bag is. I wouldn't think it's that much. Don't have buckets blowing over the beach, running in the water. I mean, 5-gallon buckets on my dock hit the water quite frequently.
Now, are the bags that we have now biodegradable, the pet waste bags?
Said no, they're not.
They're not. So if we're gonna do that, then I don't want to add to the problem.
They make biodegradable ACM 6400 compostable bags that come on cards that are single pull that would probably fit into our dispensers. That would
Just
be-
a note, because I know that the dog waste bags, a lot of people I know use those for trash pickup when they get out. They also use them for shelling, but they're kind of small. They're, the size you want for dog waste and the size you want for really picking up trash are probably different enough.
Different sizes, yeah, I would agree. I mean, we use them, in the morning. We walk the beach every morning, pick up trash, so, I mean, they seem to be, but you're right, there's crab tops and stuff like that you end up having to kind of haul and rope and stuff like that, which would be nicer with a larger container.
I appreciate maybe wanting some kind of security, but I think that keeping it simple also means keeping it cheap, because I don't know, if you're going to buy cheap 2-gallon buckets in bulk, if they go walking, you don't care because there's not a whole lot of expense in them. It's $25. 5-gallon buckets are what, $3?
Yeah, I don't think you get 5, probably 2 to 3 gallon buckets would be fine, I would think.
Yeah, and I don't, I agree with the concern about putting more plastics out,
Yeah, that's my
but
concern too.
really,
yeah.
to me, the evil is single-use plastics as opposed to reusable plastics.
You like the bucket idea?
It's interesting that, one thing and this is really great, very well researched, is that I was wondering where they called it, pick a bag when they put buckets on
Fill a
it.
bag with a bucket, yeah.
Yeah, and then you see that in one of the little drawings, they actually show bags on the same post. Now, maybe they found out that the bags just don't work for some reason?
Buckets also take a lot of room too, so those.
Or also, it makes them harder to put in your pocket, I guess, and pull
Yeah,
off.
or end up just leaving them on the beach.
And another idea to think about in this is like a couple other things, is that we can start this in one beach access. And hopefully a beach access that one of the MRF members uses, their neighborhood beach access, and then look at it. I've done something recently where I put a thing on our beach access, which is for beach toy recycling. I threw some beach toys in there, and an hour later they were gone. I thought, well, this didn't work. The next day it was full again. And since then, it's been pretty full. So, if you can keep an eye on it, then you can get an idea whether it's worth.
One of the
ending
most
or
common
changing.
items you see is just this abandoned beach toys.
I see them a lot.
Cigarette butts.
That would be
Cigarette
my
butts for sure.
point. I was hoping that we could get a couple trash cans just for Times Square for cigarettes, like those ones that they have, the
Mention
grocery
those,
stores
yeah.
have, just for cigarette butts, because there are hundreds of cigarette butts during areas around Times Square.
Look out the window at his traffic light. Holy crap. Like a left turn lane. Yeah, it's an ashtray.
I also like the photos, the ones that you have on page 3, the dolphin and the pelican. Not that that would need to be everywhere, but I think pictures like that are very helpful to encourage people to clean up.
Yeah, the idea maybe would be instead of having just a sign like that, you would actually have that on,
Just do
a
the
pelican
dolphin.
or something. I mean, it might be harder to manage and maintenance would be a little more difficult, but I bet you we can find people that would, as far as.
When I did the beach toy thing, I got I think it's like a $5 plastic little hamper, but it's made out of plastic from Dollar General. If you try to get something out of wicker, it's $30.
Mm-hmm.
So, getting away from plastics can get expensive.
So from what I understand, they're going to start on May 13th, Keller.
Right. But I have to tell you, that deadline that's
For
not
May
our,
13th.
that's not our deadline.
No, that's theirs,
Can't be a
and we kind of
deadline,
told them
yeah,
the
no.
deadline, and they said the deadline was pretty flexible. That their idea was to start installing the beach
Each bucket.
foundation stuff, but back and forth we had with them is when it went through council, we said they want to do this. I said, great idea, but I researched, there's a lot of other ideas. Let's bring it to MRF and see if we go through the ideas and come up with what we're going to do. Doesn't mean we're going to do what they propose and something else. We're going back to just an idea of the best way to handle this for us. Other things too, that they're kind of large footprints. It means that every time there's a storm, Public Works is going to have to go gather them up, maybe maintenance on them. And we want to put as few things on the ground as possible.
Right.
That's one of our determiners.
It already looks a little cluttered around some of the beach accesses, in my opinion.
And
Needed stuff, I understand, but
Too
I
many
think the
signs.
more compact of an idea to still get the idea of a beach cleanup and for someone to be able to access that if they would like is a great idea. I just think if we should come up with a way to do it without big, huge.
I like the fill a bag, that post is compelling to me. We have posts that the dog waste bags are already mounted on typically in each of those photos. And that simply could be extended up where you with the dowels sticking out, and you hang your containers, whatever they might be, whatever we decide on.
that's certainly, it's probably not the most visually appealing,
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
The other thing is, the grocery basket, they stack, which is pretty interesting. And It'd be great to have something that could fit in the same post that we already have the garbage can and the recycling on. But
A good
there's
rainstorm
not a
too,
lot of
that's gonna
area.
gain, that's gonna hold a lot of water too. You got mosquito issues in those too, so you'd have to, whatever we have, should have some kind of
Oh,
hose
and
on the
the-
bottom,
Yes.
right?
And the shopping baskets, maybe, having something that is not particularly good for shelling
Right,
might be an advantage. But, if it's not good for shelling, it might not be good for holding bread butts either.
exactly, that's the problem, yeah.
I think for like an experiment, if we want to propose going to one beach access and doing something, we can come up with something very novel. And if you want to put a post with a couple of the pickers on there, if the pickers keep walking away, then we just say, okay, well, maybe that's not feasible.
Right,
Why don't we just label one of the doggy things to dog and human communication? Happens. Or, back to their own human.
yeah, that'd be certainly the easiest.
Quick, easy, cheap.
You would just replace, let's say, on the front page, that lower left-hand, any of them, the white sign that shows the guy yanking the dog.
Just put under, please clean up after your dog and yourself.
You make it fill a bag.
Yeah, I know
Dog's
that,
waste or garbage, trash from the beach.
I know that, I go out on the beach and we usually carry a plastic bag, which I feel a little guilty about, but you're picking up more trash. But I don't think those doggy bags are anywhere near big enough to really, we do our turtle time walk. And sometimes I'm emptying a plastic bag 2 or 3 times.
The other consideration is Lee County, I think, don't we incinerate 100% of our waste? Trash? Landscape waste, I think, is composted, but I think Lee County incinerates all our trash. So the consideration is we need biodegradable bags. I don't know if we got some people there that know about a lot of stuff, but in general,
Yeah, I personally
I
like the idea of reusable, whether it's buckets or those things,
we're talking about single-use trash pickup bags is what we're talking about now, I think. Topic is, yeah.
Bag and those doggy.
I would like to get away from single-use plastic. I mean, obviously, you're not going to have reusable doggy bags.
Why not?
That'd be a stretch.
Just kidding.
Maybe option, it's like a cheap version of the Murph bags.
Canvas,
Yeah, but
jute bags, how long they'll last in with that kind of environment, I'll tell you, with the UV light and the water.
that's the thing, biodegrade happens whether you want it to or not, doesn't it?
No, I agree.
Maybe we can leave fake straws into a basket.
Need fade bags. Was there a film? It also degrades faster than anything too, based on this paper we saw. Yeah, that tried to. Right.
Fake bags are like baskets.
I don't,
I thought that in your thing that they weren't doing that because material wasn't. There was somebody who was doing it. Okay.
Great.
And the simple thing too is, we could, with the, with where the doggy bag thing is, you put a post and put some reusable bags with handles on it that you put on that post with a sign saying what they're for.
Ideas, I know that. So the first thing I guess we have to decide is this Beach Bucket Foundation. My personal opinion is those large case cabinets are just, I'd rather not have them on the beach, to be honest with you. I mean, whereas they're attractive, we have a lot of stuff on the beach. They would have to also, serve as, they don't have lids for the trash. Maybe there is one down inside of it, but we need one that has recycling and a trash. Really marked so people don't mix. What's your opinion on the Beach Bucket Foundation program there?
Around. walk home.
The other thing, people are gonna be picking up a bucket at one access, they're gonna be doing their walk, and then they'll be dropping stuff off at other accesses, is the way I see that happening too. So there's potentially, you're gonna have a ton of buckets, basically, for people that come in at Newton Park and walk down to Sterling every day.
Like I know, like the bicycle rental places where they have to go out and reshuffle them every now and then, or
Leave them on the street, and then they have to come pick them up and,
I think in a lot of cases like those, like, you know, I think the bicycles all end up downtown during a workday and then they all go back out to the suburbs in the evening.
Right.
Though, you know, those are things that we can see how it goes. I mean, you know, you do an experiment. Of course, if you only have one, and there's no place to put them when they get to the other end if they do a one-way walk.
that's true. True. I think whatever we do, basically, the agenda is to have actually just a trial. I mean, just a little beta test and set up a couple accesses and see how it works. You could mock anything up with buckets or bags or
Yeah.
signs, posts, whatever.
So are we gonna be doing
We would make the recommendation to town council, and they would probably like option 1, 2, and 3, the way I know those guys work, right?
Yeah, and you know, I mean, what typically happens, and something I did was like this, is that, you know, Public Works wants to put the post in the ground. You know, or if it's their post, they're the ones who want to be the ones to,
Oh, sure.
Manipulate it,
Chelsea
so-
would be okay with us, I mean, working with us, right?
but you know, it's you give her an idea and let the Public Works do it. They have a lot of pretty talented guys there,
Okay, yeah.
whatever you want.
This is,
So you're talking about the,
yes, for the bucket. It's for $600, it's just very expensive.
the 2-bucket station is? Oh, I didn't see that.
whereas reusable, collapsible bags, $25 for two?
It doesn't seem,
I just,
I mean, the advantage of the collapsible bags is they don't take up much space. You know, I think that you pretty much have, you know, I know when we collect trash, you take one bag, and then when you get to the cans, and you sort it out yourself, taking two.
right, yeah, you sort.
Well, they come in
So we do
other, they
now.
come in regular garbage bag, garbage collapsible, they come in green, you can get your logo put on, I mean, it's an idea. Thing collapsible and usable, light. We put in the box a few of the pickers. Basically,
And I
just
think
have a
we'll-
sign that here's, if you'd like to do a beach cleanup, here are some supplies. Utilize, use, return.
I wonder if we could put something on top of the garbage can recycling posts that'll hold shopping basket kind of things, but not interfere with the guys getting the lids off.
Ever watched him take those lids off? It's like, thing on top of there would probably be gone.
You trash in a bucket, it doesn't all come out when you dump it.
I think the easiest, maybe not the most cost effective, but the easiest would to put a dispenser for biodegradable bags, smaller, doesn't have to be the big ones, the smaller 6 or 4 to 6 gallon or 6 to 8 gallon, and just install it right underneath the dog waste. If we're going to be, you know, offering that, I still think, even though, you know, we incinerate our garbage, I still think we should lead by example and offer biodegradable, just in case they end up blowing around or something happens. To be good stewardships of the island, we need to be lead by example.
Alternative would be galvanized buckets. So if you wanted a firm, you know, a container.
Slows down the rust a little bit here.
But I mean, it would be chemically disposed. after, they're also, I don't know what those are from Granger, $3 or something.
Yeah. And once they get a patina on them, they probably won't be stolen very often.
That's the other thing, we want a deed or theft of this stuff too.
You know, one thing, simple idea, looking at these is if, you know, below the doggy bag, you had a post that sticks up, you could just put a stack of buckets on upside down, so they wouldn't catch water.
Mm-hmm.
They just come to some kind of sign on it.
But
Just
we'll-
think about a simple thing that if we do an experiment and it fails, it's
Right.
an experiment, right? And if you're only into it, you know, $20 a station or whatever, then, you know, if it fails, and you try something else.
Actually, the buckets probably won't stick either because there's sand in them. Don't stack mine because I can never separate them.
That's true.
After you rinse them, they're brutal.
And galvanized, I'll bet they probably, you know,
Do we lock the buckets up?
No, this has to be, I don't think that's managed, I mean, administratively, I think that's just too much. I think you have to just have it, in my opinion, honor.
even
Don't make
something,
anything look too attractive that they want to steal it, I suppose.
even something as mechanically simple as a galvanized bucket doesn't last very long on the beach. So anything complicated.
Effective, I'll say that. So, motions? Really?
I make a motion that we, bags installed with the doggy station.
A simple sign to say this is what it's for.
Yeah.
As a test.
Maybe instead of a motion for one thing, maybe everybody comes up with an idea and then vote on what the preferred idea is.
With that
They're
too.
going through a series of motions depending on what people may want.
Ideas, discussion? Yeah.
Discussion,
Well, I think
Ideas, actually, do you have any,
if there's a motion on the floor, then we either have to withdraw the motion to select ideas, or
I
dies without a second, or we give it a second and you debate that one idea.
second that.
Okay, then you discuss it and you can vote on it.
The idea is
Long biodegradable. That ways before you use it. So,
that can
like
be an
a
issue.
straw,
That can be an issue, yeah.
you know. But you have to, I mean, the length of degradation in this would be ideal.
the dispensers I saw, I saw a picture of one that was biodegradable. It was covered. It was, open it up and then it covered. You just open like the dog waste one. Or for very specifically for.
So we can probably have Public Works research it and find out what's going to be easiest for them to maintain. Looking for that.
We could try that.
Mark
We could try
LaFave.
that for maybe 3 or 4 different locations, beach access locations where we have the heaviest traffic.
Mm-hmm. Rose, do you have any ideas?
I'm in total agreement with.
Okay. Right. Okay, so let's do that. Any question? Any opposition? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, so your recommendation, to be clear, on town council is to first locate and install a biodegradable trash pickup bag
With dispenser.
with a dispenser that would live with the dog waste bags.
Correct, and modify the sign to instruct people on how to use it. Correct, I mean, there's gonna be some signage of why it's there.
I'm just not sure if we should maybe pass this to Public Works, or maybe we should let them or find something, do a little more research, find something that'll work.
I agree with that.
We suggest, instead of something that we say, well, now you got to go and find what we suggest, actually say, well, here's vendor A, vendor B, they make something. That's what we want to do.
I'd be happy to do that, I just don't wanna wrestle control away from Works, that's all. Start, give them a more focused start, maybe, yep.
And I think it's, it's perfectly all right to use a certain vendor as a suggestion, but Public Works will find who they're going to find.
Sure.
Does that sound reasonable, Chad?
In Public Works, so.
So,
Must be a vendor on the doggy.
There is, yeah, I looked at them, Wasties maybe or something, but these are the guys I called that couldn't tell me what the plastic even was made of. Just said they knew it was from recycled, plastics, but they couldn't tell me what plastic it was. Oh, sure, absolutely, yeah, and like I said, the ones I saw that were biodegradable, the favorite cards, these, are used, basically they're carded, and that little strap that comes out that you pull on, that prevents multiple bags being dispensed at one time, so
Which
they,
picture are you talking about?
the ones that we have, the green ones. Our existing,
Oh,
front
existing
page, our
ones.
existing, right.
Okay.
I don't know what size they were, but I mean, we can do research, I suppose, and a recommendation, and they can ultimately find what they want. Yes, it has to be, I'm assuming financially viable for the town as well. If the bags cost 50 times what we have now, they would. Okay.
no pun intended.
Pun intended. Okay, so we have to withdraw that motion then, or redo the
No,
motion?
I think you voted on it and passed it. That's what I heard.
Okay, so it's passed.
That's the recommendation. I'd like to say, it's probably better to go a little further and be more specific and suggestive about what you've recommending. I mean, instead of saying, here's the concept, come up with
Right.
examples.
We need to help provide that with Public Works, you're saying, but that doesn't have to be voted on, we just need to do that. Okay. Okay, then I'll do that. I'll do some research, you guys are welcome, you want it? Okay, Jennifer and I will have a,
The research would be on bags, dispenser.
right, fulfillment of our idea, which is a bag, a sign, and a dispenser. Still,
Does the town work with someone that already does sign?
yes, I think so. Allison could probably help us with that.
Work with a distributor if they already
This bag, the bags that we buy now are direct.
direct? What about the
I
dispenser?
don't think that'll be an option. They don't have a biodegradable bag. They don't tell us what plastic it is, so I don't know what they pay. They'll have to tell us for them. Well, it doesn't matter. We'll find what we want and suggest it to them. So, like I said, if you, in your Google search or your search engine, put, I think bags, but use that ASTM 6400. That pulls up a whole different search of truly biodegradable bags. Or even PHA if we can.
We know how much we spend on piece for the dog bag,
It's the list prices are on their website,
the
so.
direct website?
Correct. Yeah, and I have all that. I can share that with you. Okay.
Get an idea of it would.
Sizes and stuff like that,
and
budgets.
also in budget, what they're paying for the dog bag,
Right.
what they might,
Yeah, the bags they use now, those dispensers are anodized aluminum. I mean, they're pretty nice boxes, I think, in general. They lock, and it would be interesting to see if we couldn't utilize those and we have them mock one up, maybe. Something that would fit those, but I don't know, again, size-wise. We want to do something larger than the dog waste bags. About the size, they're about 8.5 by 11, maybe.
I think it should be
See, a
bigger.
little smaller.
I think if are you talking about the beach cleanup bags? Be the same size?
Yeah, they're about this size, I think. You'd probably fit one of these in the dog waste bags. They're not very big.
Not big at all, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can fit that in there for sure.
Yeah,
Maybe.
but then that's it. So what's the point in making a sign that says beach cleanup, help us clean up the beaches?
Well, that's my
and
question,
then
is
give them a little tiny
need a larger bag, sure,
Say,
sure.
good luck. Get 10 of them, 20 of them.
Going to a beer festival and getting a little.
Okay. We have a plan? Let's move on. Life, guys, sorry. we're halfway through. Okay, so I think we're good on that. We'll do the research, get the Public Works, and our motion carried. So exotic plant survey, Rose, I think that's on for you?
Yes.
Were you gonna discuss the straws, or?
No, I thought we agreed that would be actually on the next on the next agenda. I mean, we can. I mean, for the benefit of the gentleman here, you mean?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, let's do that then. Discussion. My position, I think, is that the fact that the degradation is slow, it still poses a problem with wildlife. Even the fact is it's an absolutely wonderful product, but I think in our particular case on the beach, it still poses a problem for wildlife. Potentially, of course, yeah, potentially. My opinion.
I agree, unless there's some data say, bite it and it breaks into small pieces and.
Jennifer, you have a feeling on it, or?
I agree. I think it's a great product. Maybe for other parts of the country, but coastal, Florida coastal, no.
About animal ingestion straws.
I don't want to encourage them to go home and eat straws for dinner and then let us know what
Right,
happened.
You already threatened to do it, right? Okay. Rose, did you have an opinion at all on it?
It's a tough one. I think it's probably better than what a lot of places are using right now on the beach. So it's a step up, but I'm not.
Can I just, again, maybe I think, Bill, you're the only one here that was part of the straw ban ordinance. I think I just joined at the very, very end of it. Can you tell us what that ordinance is again? It's I believe it was a ban on the beach, but I was mistaken. Or is it just restaurants? Restaurants is paper and beach was banned. That was my understanding.
No, boy, my recollection, and I don't think, unfortunately, I don't think Chad was here either, is that it's the distribution, of single-use plastic straws. I don't know the exact wording.
Yes, sure.
Remember when the restaurants
Even
stopped?
paper's an issue, I suppose, but.
I remember when the restaurants stopped distributing them out, they went to paper. Those didn't last long, and then they went to nothing. Now there is a different straw that some of the restaurants are using. It's a green. It's very similar to feel, but it's green and thin. And I've asked the servers, and they say biodegradable straws.
I know, I feel, I don't know
I've
which
seen
restaurant it was,
those.
but I feel like I've seen, similar type plastic feel but biodegradable straw on the beach.
To be PLA, I'd say, right? Some starch. Yeah.
I know at Dock Ford's they use fade straws.
We're on San Carlos Island, though. Oh, they use fade at the. Oh,
That's
cool.
where I got that one, yeah.
Good. Perfect, actually. Wonderful.
I think that one of the tricky things was the definition of biodegradable. You can claim that anything does given enough time. A million years, everything will degrade.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Technology, but even actually biodegradable it creates microplastics. What that's the original first ones, right? Where it just breaks apart. They put starch inks in it, and so it'd fall apart earlier, I think, is how it worked. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually worked with Cargill a little bit on Eco when they were making Eco Play. Believe it or not. Sure.
Just get up to the microphone there and
Oh, there you go,
remember
yeah.
to identify yourself for the record.
Report again from WinCup. Just make a suggestion that there are FTC guidelines, Federal Trade Commission guidelines, around by the use of the word unqualified claims of biodegradable, which allows you to carve out of specific biodegradable frames. Will eliminate things like PLA and things that don't truly biodegrade in a marine environment, or polylactic acid that is a fossil fuel, for example. Our FTC guidelines called the Green Guides, federally mandated, be able to use in your which strict, non-truly biodegradable product. The federal.
Thank you very much. It was very simple. Plastic, interesting, okay.
Well, certainly if there's a certification standard for biodegradability, then that's something that the town council can consider modifying that ordinance. Because it is a pretty good argument they make that even, you know, it's not just paper. Just paper that's like the straws you used to get in elementary school that, you know, lasted for half a thing of milk.
It's a PVA in it and everything else, like I was saying, it's a superior product, I think, that's for sure. Based on an ordinance, and I don't, hate to make any kind of statement or decision without really, that some more, to be honest.
Been on the agenda for next month.
I think so, yeah, I think we had it, didn't allow us to do some more research on it. Excellent. Good. All right. Chicago? Okay. Okay, wonderful. I think that'll probably end the discussion then on the straws today, guys. If you need to run, it looks like you already are. Okay, perfect. Okay, well, thank you for coming this far and visiting with us. Really appreciate it. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We wait for Chad, or should we?
We just march on.
Pardon me?
Just march on.
Yep, march on. Oh,
Okay.
Rose, let me check the traffic here.
Date, there have been 24 master gardeners and 1 Florida Native Plant Society. I have volunteered to work on the invasive plant,
Oh,
and they've put in over 153 hours. And that does not include traveling time getting to and from Fort Myers Beach. That's just hours on the beach.
they'll double it then.
Walking, yeah. In some cases, yes. And in terms of walking the beach, that data, though, is kind of what I wanted to talk about, although I don't have a voice. Looking forward, we kind of need to know what we're going to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
I divided the spreadsheet, the checklist originally, into the plans that were 6 feet and less into split columns, so we can actually do a tally of the plans. Then it's like, who's going to be responsible here, the town, of answering people's questions when they call in and say, oh, I have invasive plants on my property, and they can look up the address and say, oh, yes, it was noted that you have this and that on your property. So one is, who's going to be responsible here in this building? And then kind of a disclosure statement as well, because I know there have been some instances where people misidentified plants, they thought they were lead trees, and instead they were Royal Poinciana trees. And because a lot of trees aren't blooming at this time of the year, they're just looking at seed pods hanging on basically bare trees. So there has been some misidentification. So there needs to be a disclaimer kind of statement that goes along with this, so we don't say to people, we'll cut down this tree on your property, and it turns out that that tree is not. If there's any grant money that we're going to look into, if that's a possibility, to help out owners of larger trees, like the carrot woods or the trees. We want to do something with the website of Fort Myers Beach. Annabelle, on their city website, has a list of plants that are native that people in property, and it has information about the invasive plants that shouldn't be in, and this, that. You know, it's like, do we want to do that also on a Fort Myers Beach? And then press releases. One of the people from Lee County Extension Service was here this morning, did part of the walk with me, and we were talking about, you know, the news press and getting information out to the public, TV, information, et cetera, et cetera. So then there's all of that where we possibly thinking about doing. So, and it's not like we need to make any final decisions or today, but it's like we really need to be thinking about these things so we can. May 1st is the last of the official invasive plant walk. I wanted to make sure.
First is, so it's still continuing, you're saying?
It's continuing through, yes, May 1st, and then all of a sudden we're going to have all this data, and also the person from the Lee County Extension said that not only can the master gardeners have volunteers help with the data collection, but they also can incorporate Florida Gulf Coast University students that want to have time dealing with this kind of project. So
Okay.
there's all kinds of stuff out there. So I just want to make sure everybody kind of knew the options and just discuss what we're going to do with this information. It's a lot of it.
It is, so,
It's not like a couple. It wasn't like, oh, a couple houses here or there. It's like we have hundreds of properties
sure.
with invasive plants. Not just a few, we have hundreds, literally. So
I think when we approached the project, we said, let's see how bad the invasive plant issue is for our beach. We had no idea. We couldn't make decisions. You can't put a program together until you see the scope. And so the first step was to get your assistance with the Lee County Extension to get the master gardeners to come out and who needed hours to obviously get out and put toward their badge or their accreditation. So once we got the data, we were going to take a look at it and decide, okay, what can we do with it? Chad hopefully would give us some input, and you who are knowledgeable about what is a problem, which are the worst, and make a plan once we got the data. One of the issues I think up front was we wanted to digitize the data, and I thought that was the first thing that I thought we'd have to work on is what format is the data in? Is it still all in paper forms?
it's all in paper, but it cannot, well, it's going to be entered probably into an Excel.
Okay, and who's going to do that?
Well,
We're going to try to find help or.
Renee had suggested that two people should do it. Someone from here, I thought, I wasn't really sure about her suggestion, and then also someone from the master gardener, so that there was a.
There's a basis for data integrity, but I don't think that I mean, personally, I don't think that step's even required. I think that the data in, right? I mean, this is, I'm sure we're going to do a scientific paper. I think that was maybe.
Unless there's like some student who wants to do some kind of intense work on it, I think it seems like a lot of time to duplicate the effort. I mean, how much time are we talking about to put all this information out?
Since there are literally hundreds and hundreds of properties, it's quite a few hours.
I'd be willing to help for sure, but I also was going to be I felt responsible to find some resources to do that somewhere.
Well, and the master gardeners, there are there's a section of volunteers that do data and information
Okay,
work stuff, so that can kind of be covered through Master Gardeners.
awesome.
And then one of the Master Gardeners that's been a regular candidate is really big on data and wanted to do plotting on a map of the island. And actually
Perfecto.
do, and to the point even of doing, GPS things and doing plots, and it's like, well, how could you designate, if it's Mexican petunias or a lead tree? It's like, oh, no, you can do that. You can make a dot and do all
Like a
this
layer, layer GIS data on
stuff.
Google
Yeah,
Earth,
it's
yeah.
like, okay, so that's like, kind of above me, but that also is a possibility.
Okay, well, we love your possibilities, Ms.
But
Rose.
I wanted to make sure people,
We do, because essentially what we want is that data, and I think even at this point, I'm not sure what kind of program we're in a position to create the program until we actually see the data. I mean, Chad, where you?
And the key is, what's the goal? What's our purpose?
Well, the purpose is to get rid of exotics, invasives, I think, was the end. This is a second, we had two steps here. One was to help get resources for you to try to take out of the EC and the CWA to get rid of some of those
Right,
exotics.
but, so digitizing the data isn't necessary to, you have a form, you have the property, you can go and talk to that person and do that. Analyzing the data doesn't necessarily, we have something, a form says, is there an exotic at this address? Yes, well, let's go talk to them and see what we can do.
So do we want to go and talk to every homeowner and tell them they have exotics and what they have and what options they have? Or is it, are there other
think-
communications?
I think once you get it in like a digital form, then there are programs that can like send out like a letter,
Right,
like a mail merge kind of thing from the town saying, explain what this survey was and say,
Right.
you have suspected invasive plants on your property. Here's your options.
right.
And maybe you can say what assistance the town will offer from, maybe
Right, and that's
identification,
exactly.
whatever, or verification, I should say.
That's why I'd like to find out how many there are, what's the cost of communicating to the customer, to the constituent.
But I assume that, if it's in the right form, that the town has somebody who can take data in a database like form and then make it into a mail merge. That's technology that's been around for years on a computer. Hopefully it's better now than it was. But I think if you go to the town and say, well, here's a bunch of notes we have, and could you spend 100 man hours and have somebody type these in, I don't think the town would probably be very happy about that.
no, I'm sure the Master Gardeners are gonna type it in.
Yeah.
I'm sure that will be done. It's gonna be by street and then, the address, so it will kind of follow the form.
The other way to do it is to first get all of our data in a row, and then put the PR out saying, done this survey, and say how much work it was, and people walked up and down. If you're curious about your yard, and,
I agree.
then, you can find out that information somehow.
And it's actually getting out there. Even today, walking around myself with one of the groups, there was two groups of people on the streets walking their dogs or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, are you looking at the plants? Are you doing the I was just like, yeah, it's like, how do you
know who you are.
Like, yes, it's like, yeah. So actually, the word is kind of getting out there. So it is probably because you're.
That's exactly the whole idea, right? Is to get the word out there. Now that we have the data, to use that to try to raise as much awareness, not just necessarily for somebody to say you've got an Australian pine in your yard, but also to tell people don't plant these invasives.
Right, and then the other part of that would be that adding to the website of Fort Myers Beach, these are the plants you should be putting in, or if you take this out, this is something you could put in and replace it. But
Exactly,
we need
exactly.
to help people out. It's like, okay, yeah, cut that down and take that out and pull that out, and then what?
Right.
We need to offer something for them to replace it with.
I just think it'd be neat to look at the maps and find out if we've got hot spots for this stuff, and then you can say, listen, you guys are all contributing to this issue with this, proliferation of these invasives. Are you all willing to get together with us and say, hey, Lee Street says no to, petunias or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, part of it too is that people walk down the street, let them know that no one went in your yard, that people walk down the street, and they may not have seen something, but right behind your house, you could have.
That's true, yes, and
Sure. realize that too, but, again, I mean, it's a pretty long list of invasive species. Is there higher are there, is the most invasive 50% of all species identified? Was it 40%? I mean, do you take them one at a time?
I
Look
guess
for
that was my
households.
question.
August
What's
entered, I don't know.
the point of digitizing? Is it to let people know? Is it to do summer statistics?
I think all of it, to identify what it's there. I mean, otherwise, the alternative is to look sheet by sheet to see what you're working with, and that's hundreds of ream of paper. That's the reason.
I mean, I have ideas I can get with you, have on paper, and what kind of variables you'd want to put in a spreadsheet to the questions and comments that you want.
But we have more. I mean, this obviously isn't going to be reconciled today. We have time to think about it now, and actually, and on our own, is to sketch together elements of a program that you find or I mean, the goal is to reduce the invasives, right? So that's the goal. Would you reach out to them? What could you do? Rose threw out already a bunch of ideas about if you have this, then you should consider this. If you have this and you know it's serving a purpose in your yard, then you should do this.
It's a tool. We've already thought of three or four different ways to use the tool, try to raise awareness and invasives. And I think if we get that into a digital form, someone wants to put it in GIS, that would be interesting. There is some kind of clustering with that, or whether it's just Bob
believe
has
there
them
is,
and
yeah.
Jim doesn't.
Like I have
Same
someone
pepper, I
who's
bet
like,
you that's for sure.
like really into data, and he was like, oh, I really like this stuff, and it's like,
Yeah, oh yeah, data people like data.
and then the Sanibel list of plants to put in that are native, it's so nice because they've already got a list that's already created, but I don't know, the copyright.
We have that Shades book. I'm not sure if we have something that's been digitized. I believe that
I think so. Have you seen that, Rose? Facebook, yeah. I think there's
I believe we have some copies right up front.
Okay.
on the
But even
counter.
like ground cover and,
I think that focuses on trees.
Trees primarily, but I think it has other plants in it.
okay.
Shade. I mean, ground covering.
No, like actual like grass versus turf and then going into the dune management. And there's those plants.
By the way, have you had any luck, or have you had any activity with clearing out invasives in WA or the EC?
Had that group that made a good push. I've had another resident since request some Australian pines be removed. Public Works is pretty busy right now, just keeping up with. I think typically in the summertime when less people, we have more time for pet projects.
Right, exactly. Because I think that, again, if you're not, I know with typically with corporate groups and stuff, you don't want to give them loppers and saws and stuff, but if we get a group together locally, my street, I got 8 people, just say, hey, there's a work team for a day, or you get us started, and in the event Public Works doesn't have the bandwidth or whatever. Have to snack some of those Australian pines, man, they're growing everywhere, God. Unbelievable. Next to the Catholic Church, it's just,
Can give you an address after the meeting.
okay. Hey, on Flamingo, you didn't do any of that work on Flamingo, or Public Works didn't, all those, at Flamingo Access? One property I saw was cited.
The legal work or the illegal work?
Well, I'm wondering if there was legal work there too, because
There was
north of Flamingo, I saw some, I couldn't tell by the stump what was cut down, but,
South of Flamingo, there was some sea grape issues which we cited
right,
someone for, but then on the access, there was some Australian pines that we
okay.
did
That
cut.
you whacked, okay. I saw
And some
those and I thought, did
scapula,
that
I
guy really
believe.
come all the way over here to whack those too? I thought.
Yeah,
At
so
about the same time.
Public Works took out some Australian pines over there, but the sea grapes was prior to that, and they.
Was he really? Okay, so On the subject of the exotic plant survey, did you get a feel for where things are at least until the next meeting when we have you? So by the next meeting, you think we will have the survey complete? Okay. Well, why don't we leave that as again, move that also to next month's agenda too, to just come up with, would that be a data review?
Probably
Data review?
the last one, yeah, meeting, well, the data that's already available could be,
True.
I'm just
I
gonna
mean,
say.
it'd be
I'll
nice,
say it
but I'm
could
just
be.
saying, don't be overly, have to get something.
Well, but the
We will
things,
review it, but I mean,
right, but the things like what we're gonna possibly do to the website for the town of Myers Beach, or what kind of letter we're gonna put out to
Owners,
residents and
press releases, all that kind of good
owners.
stuff. Right.
those kind of things, or if we're gonna look at grants and what might be out there.
ready when you spreadsheet to with the mail. That it's set up correctly. I'm going to use it as a merge, set up the variables correctly. Not a waste of time.
As long as it's consistent, though,
It's in
then
the
you can always
cells.
move columns around and do all that kind of stuff.
I will defer.
I wouldn't know how to do it, but just tell
But
somebody.
you know about it, yeah.
I know, and I've had set up databases and else, and I go like,
Yep.
Word. It
Important to
didn't
do it
work
right on the front end. Important to do it right on
No,
the front
get the
end.
data in the right way, yeah. It's incredibly important.
Good point, because right now there's no data entered, so.
That would be-
Exactly. So Chad said that he'd help out with that. At least the proper fields.
I'll ask if we have any mail merge type programs and how it should be set up.
Right, yeah. It's for anything. Okay. Fall asleep on me, Jen. Next on the agenda.
Yeah, I was hoping, some of the other committee members were here because I wanted some of their input, but maybe we can go do an. That's all right.
You're on?
I'll just briefly, so the pop-up started soft setup at Diamond Head on the 30th of on April 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. We were at Lovers Key, the Mermaid Festival. And since then, we have been at Lynn Hall Park and Newton Park. Oh, and the Sheriff Outreach Center. So I just couldn't offhand. All few places. The Outreach Center was great. We did. However, a lot of them, location, a lot of them were in a hurry to get to Times Square to eat and said we would be back after lunch. So we a few had stopped in after lunch. Overall, the pop-up, I believe, in my own personal opinion, has been a great success. Some of the things, I had pictures, but I'm not able to show them to you, but I'll show them to you next time. We have an Ask Me box, as Rose can attest to. I've received lots of these, and what the Ask Me slips are is just to basically if a participant volunteer organization is there and doesn't necessarily have an answer to a question that a visitor to the pop-up has, then they can direct the visitor to the pop-up to write down their question, and then the question will get to us, and we will find the appropriate group or person that can best get that answer to us. For example, I've answered some questions in regards to turtle lighting, seashells, volunteers, water quality. So it's just a good thing. You can, like, for example, this person marked off, it says, choose an environmental box that best fits your question, ask the question below, fill in the contact information, and your question will go to the best resource group to help with the sensor print. So they are basically what's on our ocean, air and water quality, plants, wildlife, beach and bay, other, what can I do, volunteer, you know. So that's been, I thought I would not
Is that
receive
email
anything,
communi-
but
is that
I have
em-
received
basi-
lots.
Is that basically email communication?
So and then it says, you know, what's your question? And there's
Oh, what's
two
the
lines.
question?
Yep,
Give us-
2 question lines, and then your name, phone number, and an email address, and whichever one you want to fill out to best.
What's that question say?
And this classes are really bad. This one actually, it says they're just marked off that they were interested in air quality, plants, wildlife, beach. Said email Air Force. I won't say it here, but and then their name.
There's no question, though.
There's no question, but they're all over the place. This one is live in condo, have rental property, and would like something give to the association to better help other condos with lighting issues. And again, is lighting issue. What are the black lines on a seashell? I'm still waiting back for my resource from, anyhow, so there's lots of good ones in here. Environmental knowledge regarding water. So yeah, there's a good amount of them, and I'm you know, getting to everybody.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so then, for the May, I am waiting for, I've applied for a field permit with DEP. I'm asking for a blanket permit. They have asked for maybe that they could give me a permit to be able to set up on the set up the pop-up in various locations on the beach island. And so they said if I could come up with a year calendar of just locations or dates, places. However, I can't because I need to set it up, ask for participation, find out, you know, able to actually do the calendar. So I have requested that I get a blanket field permit. I'm just waiting back. Think that we won't have a problem with that.
Required, though? I mean, you're just setting up on the
We are
beach, right?
required to have a DEP, a field permit. Anything that is set up on the beach, the CCCL requires that we have a
A
permit.
beach tent?
Our beach tent, yes.
Okay, our beach
Because
tent. But
it's
if you're a
considered-
resident, if you're a visitor, you don't need one.
No, but a visitor's not gonna be, I mean, they, you know, like an event. Going to the beach is an event, however, we're, you know, asking people to come up to us or, you know, ask us a question. So it's something, you know, I'm still confused
have it.
about it. I don't see why we need that, but you know, at the end of the day, we're part of the government, we're a government entity, and so they're waiving the fee, and I want to do what's right for our beaches, for,
sure.
you know, I want to lead by good example. And so, you know, sea turtle season's coming up. If the Florida DEP allowed anyone to just set up and do stuff, then we would end up, for example, a couple years ago, I was walking, it was 4:30 in the morning, doing my turtle walk, and somebody had set up for a whole wedding. No permits, no nothing.
Right.
So, you know, everything's set to protect our
Right.
beaches. So I feel like we should respect that. And so now I'm applying for that. The fee has been waived for us. So that's not an issue. Again, so but the few dates that I have for May 2nd,
Can you apply for that, or does the
that's
town
what
have
I'm
to apply
applying
for
for.
it?
I personally am applying for it
Okay.
on behalf of our committee.
Not sure, a lot of stuff that we do, it's got to be the town that applies. I'm not sure if this is the case.
That's
slides.
not, I've been in contact with DEP and a
They're okay with that?
representative, and they have not, but I don't know I don't know if I do anything I'm not supposed to do. I was advised, actually, by Chad,
That's okay? Okay, that's fine.
but I don't know.
I mean, I don't see an issue with it. I would definitely prefer it rather than trying to administer permits. You know, it's a special event permit. My suggestion would be to self-cert. If you meet the self-cert criteria, the self-cert as you need them.
Not what they told, field permit, something that would cover the beach.
You can do self-certifications for event permits. I
Is
can
that what
talk
I'm doing?
to,
I don't know. I don't know what it is, because I'm not filling anything out. They just said that they will get us the permit. I went to go fill out the permit information. It would only allow me days, because within the time of turtle season, what I was applying for a whole year. Within, if you go to fill out for that field structure permit, won't allow you to do any. Make sense? Yeah. Okay. And I can't be going constantly and asking for permits. I want something that will cover the rest of the year, will cover the properties, the beach accesses. What I'm hoping for. Is there something I'm wrong,
no,
or?
we'll see how
Good,
they,
no.
I don't have an issue with it.
So, I was contacted by Louise Coach with Lovers Key, Friends of Lovers Key, and she's invited me to their first in-person working group meeting on June 22nd for the tour. She thought it was a great idea. She got my information. Some rangers had come over and they were taking pictures of our pop-up tent. They had heard some visitors that had come to the festival. They were over in Lovers Key and said that we had a great, pop-up tent and great stuff. And so they came over to, in their words, steal some ideas and get back with Lovers Key. So that's how they got my contact information. I said, no, let's collaborate. You don't have to steal. I think this is a great idea. So that's exciting. I'll be meeting with some like-minded people on environment there. So I was excited to be invited for that.
And Louise is a former member of MRF.
Yes, I know. Yeah. So the only date that I have for the pop-up for May yet, I'm hoping to get the permit and be able to get that May calendar to MRF members, committee members in the town. Would be the May 2nd that we were invited to Taste of the Beach. And so and that is it.
I'm covering the 22nd, right, of April.
Oh, thank you. Yes, you and Bill, I believe,
Bill,
are
I
going
heard,
to
was
help me
gonna
out.
be-
I'll be there.
Bill was gonna
to-
hang with me too.
For part of it.
Okay.
We have something
Now,
else that came up too, but
The heavy
be-
lifting, no.
This will be interesting because I'll be there for the setup, and you two will, if you have kindly offered to do you have an hour to take down and then get to Mount House and set up.
Can do it.
I know you can.
Can do it.
I'm gonna send you pictures on how I like things to like that.
Okay, good. Wait
I
a minute,
mean,
that wasn't part of the deal.
Just so you know, though, that's a week from Thursday, right? A week from tomorrow?
May 20th.
22nd. It's,
I'm just,
Thursday.
because also, that's a date that we are going to be laying the ground for a native plant demonstration garden at Palermo. I'll be going between two.
Birthday, it's gonna be busy for you, chief. You can do it, you could do it.
And I have to say, Jennifer's not giving herself enough credit, because the reason that the Rangers came over from Lovers Key was because she created an aquarium to show how management with plants helps.
Oh my
And
gosh, you said you were gonna do it, and you did it. I didn't
she
see a
did,
photo
and
of
it's
it.
fabulous.
Felt like I was
and
in school again. I
Oh,
stayed up
boy.
until midnight, just
Yeah.
making it perfect. And
Diorama.
It's
a
really
diorama,
good.
yeah.
It's really good.
And then wait until you see my next one that I'm working on right now. It's has to do with lights and sea turtle lighting, and this one's going to be interactive as well. But I'm extremely excited to share that with all of you.
Awesome. Okay, so that's the update, and as part of that, actually, we also have the brochure. I don't know if we can,
If you're really out of time, you can always just defer that to the next meeting.
we might, because I personally it looks like I could still get off the island here within 20 minutes, so I have a doctor's appointment I had to reschedule, so how they don't like people being late. But
This brochure is one that Murph put out probably 9 years ago. And you guys talked about wondering if there was a brochure. I don't know if, if there's an original source of this, we have to redo it anyway, but I think the things to consider are something like this. There's also a lot of really good brochures, like Be a Beach Hero, really good one, but it's not specific to us. This one is specific to us. Or we can go grander, and an idea that I've been kicking around with for a while and I've mocked up is doing a national park style brochure, which have a lot more information because it's much bigger than these brochures are.
I think it's an awesome idea. It's going to take some work, obviously, but
Pays for those. That to the town and ask.
That's one way to do it.
we've been at the town council. Uncle Roger to find us some cash.
A lot of it depends on how much money and how much is involved. That I think, the layout could be pretty, if they want to do a professional layout that big, it probably takes some money. That might be an issue, but it's just, it's up to Murph, I think, to look at the ideas and see what you guys want to recommend.
Right, content. It all starts with content anyway, so.
I mean, for my money, I've been a big fan of this national park brochure idea because you can tell the story. It's not just, the small ones tend to be a lot of don'ts.
Right.
To tell people the story. It's kind of like a pop-up booth in a card.
Right.
The same kind of idea. Because when you're in the booth, you can tell people the story. It's not just telling them what not to do.
Yeah, first paragraph, do not allow children. Second one says destruction.
Yeah.
Third one says, do not disturbance. We're not allowed. Right, it is a lot of don'ts.
But it's a well-done brochure.
Oh yeah, very nice.
We ran at it some time ago, I think. I had a little small stash in my house.
Nice.
I
So I
like,
guess we defer it, or do a little bit more work, because I mentioned, I hadn't had a chance to get a hold of public safety, because you said they have a pretty nice.
We do, it should be available here in town.
Okay, I'll get it before I leave then, if someone's still around. Else to get us.
The other idea is if you can make one brochure that kind of covers, because right now there's a big pile of them. There's a pile of brochures for the Mound House, for the Public Safety Committee has one, Murph has one, Turtle Time has one, a few, so if we can put all that information in one, it will help consolidate some of that stuff.
That's a,
I encourage you to come and anyone else that hasn't, come and see what it, if you have any suggestions to help, out all of us getting the mission projects that we talk about here, and
Certainly,
appreciate advice or feedback.
education is one of our core missions here too. One more thing I want to mention, I got to go too here pretty soon, but yeah, Murph has one opening and we have 4 applicants.
oh yeah, I was gonna ask you, you have 4 applicants?
4 applicants, yeah,
You making that decision?
Monday.
I was gonna,
You announce that?
It's in the agenda.
and the resumes, applications, I should say, will be part of the agenda packet,
Or
right?
part of the agenda packet.
But I was also considering sending out, I don't know if it's kosher to make recommendations, but there is a person that's tried to, times I think maybe, and denied the position. And this particular individual has seagrass experience, which I think is a very key element to maybe that could benefit Murph with all the problems we're having, certainly with seagrass. And
They've reapplied this time?
I've asked them to, yeah.
Okay.
Because I had noticed I really never participated, but every time all of a sudden she was, she wasn't part of it. So I know how that goes, but
10 years ago, it was hard to get enough people to fill the seats, and now,
that's why I joined. You guys couldn't have a meeting. You didn't have a quorum.
now it's
3 months in a row.
like popular and, things ebb and flow. So, but right now it's a good committee and people realize that, and it's because of what you guys are doing now. We actually are doing things.
Is it confidential who those 4 are? Do you know who they are?
It's in the packet. I can actually,
Right and everything?
yeah, I can.
Okay, no, I can, that's all right. I can do it on my
I mean,
own.
you can download it if you want. I can get my book and read them to you.
I'll have a look at it, not a problem. Are all beach residents
One is not, but that's Ranger
Rob
Rob.
is one of them, yeah.
And, he's got some qualifications, letter of recommendations and all this, but the town will say preference has to go to a residents or have businesses.
Correct.
Is that written somewhere?
It is, yeah.
Is it preference?
Yes.
That was rewritten about 2 years ago, I think. They said you can't be in two unless there was
It-
a need. You
There was
can't
a
be
lot
in
of
two.
debate going back and forth about whether it should be preference or say you just cannot be on a committee unless you're,
I would just say, sure who the other applications or, what's the word? Applicants, thank you, are. But Ranger Rob has been, that I know of, assisting, many rescues with Crow, and he also has been a big help with the pop-up. Over the weekend he spent, and I think he's doing it in Newton Park. So I think also if someone's actually already involved with the community and doing things,
it just comes down to what the rules are, though. We've had other instances too. We've had people who either had some history, good or bad, but they were not part of the town, so they just weren't, they weren't qualified from that standpoint. I agree with you. You'd be a great addition. You really would be a great addition. But
yeah,
can,
that would be up to council, but just from my experience, someone that's already hearing about our committee.
just find an apartment maybe, or a little,
Actually, if you lost time here, why the heck does he live up in Port Charlotte or wherever?
Gorda.
Gorda. Holy
Yeah.
cow.
drive.
Okay, so moving along here, I got about 8 minutes here. So, okay, so MRF brochure will be moved also to future agendas. Loading up these agendas. And there's still some priorities. Ocean-friendly sunscreen, obviously that'll be moved along. That's Doc Heil, Jeffrey's Heil's baby. Dune management,
Next meeting?
next meeting, okay. Perfect. On that subject, has and Bill can answer that question about, actually, maybe it doesn't apply, so I'll just withdraw that question. Let's do members' items and reports.
Let's do good citizen.
We gotta do
award
good
first.
citizen award. Yeah, we need a Murphy. We've got, I already have the article for Mary Rose. We need a Murphy for this month. Any Murphys?
I'd like to nominate a Murphy, and this one actually was wild. It has to do with a nest that is by Bay Beach Lane community that was between two posts, and there was 3 baby ospreys in it. Unfortunately, that had dropped. I was receiving phone calls from residents just distraught. The birds, the female and the male were freaking out. The babies were just floating, drowning, and Crow at that time was closed. I started calling my resources, people with boats. Fishtail jumped in, got there. The people in the community, because there's mangroves, they can't just jump over to get them. They're just floating. And as the current's going, they're starting to see them start to float away. So Mallory from Fishtail came flying in with her boat to rescue, and all she could. One was dead, the other they could not find, and we did save one. The one at Crow is doing really well. Now we're trying to, basically it took a joint effort. We had somebody meet somebody at Fishtail to go pick up the baby, rush it to Crow. The person, it just took a village and a community. But Mallory from Fishtail, really, I've got great pictures of her with
You
the
have
baby.
photos?
I've
Okay.
got great photos, and I
Perfect.
highly recommend that as a nomination for Murphy Award.
Make a motion that we make Mallory from Fishtail our Murphy Award winner. Have a second?
Thank you.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. I am. Excellent. And I think we have a couple in the bank, but that's a hot one, so we're going to go with that. Okay, members' items and reports. Let's start with you, Ms. Rose. How are you today?
Nothing besides the invasive plants, no.
That was a great, that was a wonderful, item.
Okay, so yes, I do, and this kind of goes back to the Good Citizen Award, the Murphy's Award, and I wish I was able to show the pictures. So at mile marker 63, which is near the Bay Beach community, there was a marker that had a sign for slow speed that was facing the actual boat dockage at Bay Beach. And we had replaced all the signs and the posts, or when FWC replaced them, they replaced that post with a new post. However, there was only one sign. This was, I think, last year. This year, I guess a couple of months ago, something happened with that post and the sign, and it's gone. And now, and nobody knows what happened to it from the community, no one knows. But now there's a green buoy in the same spot. So we need to find out what's happening with that. We need to find
It's a
out.
channel marker post?
This is a channel marker 63 post, and it
I think it
goes-
washed away in a storm or some other reason. They don't know why it's gone, but
mean,
they
it's
put the
brand
buoy,
new.
they put the buoy there until they get another post to put in.
There is another post coming, so we need to, okay. What I would like to see is 2 signs, slow speed signs on there. And one of the reasons is, I'm going back to the Murph Award, is there is, basically, posts from Fishtail to Coon Key. Those ospreys were using, and I wish I could show you the pictures again, at the dock, 2 posts right next to each other, and there's a sign there, I believe the slow sign, manatee slow sign. The ospreys for the past couple of years have been nesting. If you imagine, here's 2 posts. They've been nesting right in between. I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure you boaters. It's a very popular nest that people can see going by. And what happens is there's no foundation, so they fall through. As they get heavy, they just fall through and crash. Fortunately, we're able to rescue this one.
Is this the one with the manatee sign? The kind of,
On the very right side.
the kind of the carved manatee?
No, that's
No,
the other one. That's there was one on top of a piling right by Bay Beach on the end of their docks. On
Oh,
the
okay.
furthest south dock, yeah.
The south end. So when that went, we lost 2 of the babies. So what I'd like to see for channel marker 63 would be 2 of the slow speed signs, or the low speeds, whatever the signs should be. And the reason why I'm saying 2, one on, so not facing the docks. There's no reason to have a slow speed sign facing a dock. What we want is boaters coming from the south and north to see those 2 signs. That will also create a habitat for osprey nests. And so I think that, is something, or maybe we can get something else in that area.
Why don't we put an osprey platform on
They don't
there?
want
And it won't
nesting
collapse
birds
either.
on the channel markers, because it'll
They
obscure
can't
the
prevent
markers.
it.
Huh?
They can't prevent it.
They aren't gonna do anything to promote it.
But you still need those 2 signs from people coming from the south
I
to.
mean, they've taken the osprey nests off, the one that you're talking about, the manatee. There, will physically remove the nests if they're obscuring the signage.
I thought that one famously just falls apart every year, the one on the manatee signs.
I think it does
Yeah,
too.
but they do not want to obscure the channel markers.
Okay, well, then that channel marker needs to be replaced anyhow. But then what
It's
about?
FWC's job.
It's Lee County.
It's like-
The county, you'd have to bring it to the
Lee
county.
County's messaging to me was that it's channel, the sign is facing the,
People
right at
come,
the beginning of the channel, on both sides. Runs on 61. Facing the channel. That was their preference, that's how it was permitted. 63 did wash away. There is no, don't believe that sign, and I don't permitted a sign on 63.
We're not gonna have any signs for slow speed from, to. It's like a big
We
area.
permitted 6 signs in that area from 57 to.
they're not
66
replacing
and 68.
63?
From 57 to 68. 68 to 57 on the north side, There are 6 low-speed signs that we permitted, and I believe we're working with Bay Beach to idle speed signs replaced with they have idle speed signs on their docks, which aren't Bay Beach, Riverside Dock Association, them being signs permitted.
Well, anyhow, I would like to, so is that out of our jurisdiction to
It's in our jurisdiction.
see about getting habitat for ospreys or birds in somewhere in that area? Up nesting and not conducive?
I mean,
Oh,
if you want to
sorry.
advise the council
Okay.
agenda,
Yeah, so
Maybe
I
Bay Beach
move a
will,
motion,
But
move a motion for this to be up for discussion for a habitat,
Additional
additional
osprey nest
osprey.
platforms
Yes, thank you. Move that.
based in the Coon Key area.
Do I need to say it?
The more specific you are, the better off you are.
Okay, so I move a motion to discuss.
I don't know if we need a motion. I think you could
If you
ask,
want to discuss it, you can, you
you can just
just.
ask to have it put on the
I would
agenda.
like to just put this on the agenda.
Yeah, I think. Okay.
That it's open for discussion on getting habitat in the Coon Key area for, Coon Key, between Fishtail and Coon Key area, for habitat for ospreys and
Okay. I wrote it down. We have to work on, set the agenda next after Doc Fossum gives us an update. I'm sorry, are you done with your members' reports?
I'm done, thank you.
Perfect. Doc Foss?
Yeah, I went through the minutes of the Anchorage Committee, and they report how many pump outs they have, but they don't report where. I assume by the language it's only in the mooring fields. So I'm gonna go through more of their minutes, and I'm gonna go to their next meeting.
Perfect. And,
I think that, I know maybe Chad will know this, but I think now they don't take honey dipper out to outside the mooring field. The people outside the mooring field have to come to, out.
That was our question a while ago, is the pump out for the other boats that had a higher risk of dumping overboard.
A question for a while, I think. It'd be good to know, be good investigation. I think that what I was told by staff is that trying to go to these boats and seeing if they want to pump out, if there may be nobody there, it's a lot of time, staff, and effort to go out and try to hunt down people, any kind of appointment or any kind of schedule. That's why they don't really do it. It's a pretty long trip.
but, I mean, so you can ask them though. I mean, the 3 items we had originally on our initiative list was, derelict vessels in Estero Bay. Are they pursuing that? You can ask them if you go. I've seen that, but I don't know if the ACC has been the one that's spearheaded that.
Having trouble getting out of their
Okay, so that's right, because that's their supposed to be their world. So, but not the whole bay. I guess that's what we want to try to figure out. So the other one was just boat holding tank regulation. Are they doing anything about that? Like you said, there's people out there. If they're anchored there, is that our purview to go there and say, hey, I need to see, your holding tank certificate or your.
I don't think it's the town staff that does that. I don't think the Coast Guard, I think it's a difficult thing to try to catch somebody on.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they do that very proactively.
Okay, interesting. Okay. The other one was public marina bacteria testing. One that we had discussed to put on our initiative list to tackle someday, but those are all set aside to go to technically by the Anchorage Committee, but I don't see why that has anything to do with the Anchorage Committee. Talking about just any of these public marinas that allow package of boats, yeah, snook bite, Fishtail, there's that small guy, that smaller one that's up at that old, I don't know what the name of that place is. They're up almost by the bridge. It says, there's a big sign that says 90% of our dockage is for the public, that one. Bought that marina with all those little cottages too?
I believe.
Oh, hello.
There's a picture. I couldn't quite.
One on San Carlos Island you're talking about?
Not on San Carlos Island,
Oh.
on our island.
Yeah, I know there's a bunch of stuff back there that aren't even.
No, it's, as you go up, it's on your left, and I can't remember where it's exactly at, but it's,
Thing like on Pearl Streets?
maybe around Pearl, but they also have a bunch of small, tiny cottages right there. It used to be an old marina and cottage.
Yeah.
It's got a name, anyway. Question is there any kind of bacterial testing being tested? You know, are they maintaining pump out logs there at their marina, that kind of stuff? Of interest, I mean, point source pollution. What you say,
know-
Chad?
It'd be, it'd be interesting to see, their permits, whether or not the land leases allow liveaboards.
Are we talking
More like, some of them are more like multifamily condos or houses that also are.
also, I mean, there's, you know, you put blue dye in the holding tanks, make sure they're not leaking in these public marinas, stuff like that. So, I mean, before we even investigate it, I think Rexanne, who's liaison for ACC, said, "Oh no, this is all part of anything to do with boating in the bay was ACC." And I said, "Well, we need to go." And, you know, a while back we said, "You're gonna go visit them," so that's great to hear you're going.
You can also just call Kathy Light or.
Yeah. Excellent. Just I'd throw some more on your to-do list. Okay, no member report from, well, actually, just one thing that slid off the agenda that was, there's 3 items that we were going to have on our agenda, and it completely changed. Obviously, we had a lot of things added, but was this dark skies subject, and even lighting ordinance that Chad brought to us that we were going to review, Division 20 lighting standards. But also, I am of the opinion that the Marine Resource Task Force may want to make a recommendation or some guidelines to town council for this street lighting, or even just general lighting in the town. It would have to be a discussion, but we also were trying to get a dark skies person here to actually do a presentation for us that I think turned into an issue. Correct?
Reached out several Dark Sky Week, so
Yeah, I'm not sure, but just this concept of keeping the sky glow down and being able to see the stars. Every night you go out there and you can see them. Where? But so I've always been in Canada when I saw it. Oh, it's a bright, we got nice skies. I take my dogs out every night at 10 to, and they're 10 o'clock ding dong and look up. Okay. Agenda for next meeting?
I'll work with you on that.
Okay. We have to set it now? Do that at private. Okay.
Yeah, I think you kind of went through the items,
Ah.
doing the housekeeping.
Nice habitat for the bird, okay. So I make a motion to adjourn this meeting. All right, all in favor?
I have
Opposed?
to announce a public comment, even though
All opposed? Aye. I would like to stay here all day, but it looks like I'm not voted, so meeting's over.
A meeting at Shamrock.
So everybody's got, I will say this though, officially my tourist season's over. I got all my guests are gone, man, I'm telling you, that's why I haven't been to any of these MRF pop-ups. He would go and I'd have to,
County maintains those.
They have to entertain
They were of
the
the opinion
group.
that that's the way they should face. And talking about on 63?
Early afternoon and
that right? Wow.
Again, every possible entrance that you can go through that tunnel is
I would
marked.
have just cried like a baby.
Marked at the beginning on this side, you're marked at the beginning on this side, you're marked
Good
at
meeting,
the
I'll tell you what, we're
channel to the
just
marina.
more and more and more.
Then
Kinda going on. Also, we
63 was a piling, it was washed up on Coon Key for some time, I took a picture of it and let Lee County know, they tried to go get it, but it refloated and went wherever it went. Oh yeah, just so, because there's boats running aground.
So, but they're gonna piling, but no sign.
Boats don't run aground.
Oh,
Red
yeah,
right
there's a lot of
returning.
people are running.
I mean, they're of the opinion that there's adequate signing there. Y'all advise council, so. I'm not sure, I can ask,
Because they keep doing it. Have a first spot.
you never know, right?
right.
Oh, you never know. But anyway, yeah.
Like I said, advise council, maybe research it a little bit. They have those kind of, placements, you see them on the highways for birds, you see them, because they, birds will
I know, I definitely.
find somewhere to do it.
Yeah.
I really feel bad, right?
God.
It was the nest that was on the idle signs next to the boat docks there?
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic, yeah.
And then
Yeah. No, I have pictures of the nest in my report too. Joe. Good luck.
so they're being. For that reason. Prevent it. They want.
I put a big post nest habitat like on land will be easier than in water. Water requires permitting. You're gonna have a FDE permit, a US Army permit, etc. to do a piling.
And FD.
WC just regulates the lead sign
On
exclusion.
land.
Whereas on land, you could just put a pole and then
What kind of.
I'm not aware of any, there may be some zoning issues with the town. Well, call zoning and see if there's anything, first I would see what you want there. What the height specs are, et cetera. Get in touch with zoning and see what, we want to put this here. Is there any zoning issues with that? It may have to be like hurricane rated, et cetera. It's not dredge and fill, so no FDEP. WC, it's not a take or anything, so you don't.
First deal with.
Just figure out what you want.
What they want.
All the time. I think this is me entertaining.
Really? Well, no.
Which time did I
Right over.
Oh, your field permit?
What?
So my point. If it were me, I would just do a self-cert. If I knew that there was going to be an event, just do a self-cert for that event. I mean, it's the self-cert. Or or do the area-wide. Area-wide, you were saying blanket
Here.
permit,
Wrote me.
really? I worked with her. Well, we're saying that you're not gonna be able to plan out a year, so it doesn't sound like that's gonna work, so I was saying, just do a self-cert as you plan it. Sounds like she wants dates, times. No, I mean, you need to tell her, but what I'm saying is if you don't know your dates, then as you know them. If that's too much work, then just set your calendar. I mean,
I'll set the calendar for you.
but if you just set your calendar, it won't work out and you don't use a date, no harm, no.
Okay. I would have.
Ask Kelly. Call her, leave her a message and try
I
and just
hate to
talk it out with
bug
her.
I know she. At the same time.
It'd
busy
be
as
faster
she
to
is.
just talk it out.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.